Enjoy with your headphones for a better listening experience.
Please watch till the end of the video to have the most scariest part of the story.
My most compelling paranormal experiences when I was alone. Out of all my paranormal experiences, this is probably the most compelling I had simply because I was not alone when this happened. And I was not with just the average kind of people. I'll put in as many details exactly as I remember them, so this may be long. To protect the people involved, I will change their names. I cannot mention the name of my company, but it's one of the largest telcos in the Philippines, which is synonymous to world. I am currently one of the senior IT network and server engineers there. I usually get assigned to work on priority repairs on various cell sites and server/data center sites, mostly in far-flung provinces. This happened in mid-December 2016 in Nueva Vizcaya, a mountainous province in the northern region of the Philippines. It was a priority service call, SAVE. 1, the highest of priorities, wherein even the CEO of the company receives status updates, since the cell site in question also services various military communications devices. As soon as I got into the office, I was dispatched immediately, carrying with me various equipment to replace the existing ones at the cell site. It was a 6-hour drive from Manila. I was asked to go to a specific meeting point in the town nearest the cell site to rendezvous with my escort, an 8-member team from the Philippines 1st Army Scout Ranger Regiment. The area of the cell site is a place where the local communist movement, the New People's Army, NPA, is highly active. Apparently, the NPA carried out an operation early in the morning of that day which caused some of the equipment to be damaged. The team was led by one of my former high school classmates, I'll call him 1LT, Ramirez. He specifically asked for me, knowing I worked for the telco. He had his men transfer the equipment to their truck and we began the travel to the cell site. It was already dark at this time. During the long uphill ride, 1LT, Ramirez and I did some catching up when they received a call. I don't understand military speech, so I could not tell exactly what was talked about. But he updated us, accordingly, saying that a village on the way to the cell site requested assistance with a possible NPA member harassing a household. Apparently, the man was up on the roof of this house, and he was still in the area. Being the nearest, 1LT, Ramirez responded that his team will be handling it. So, we drove towards the area mentioned with headlights turned off. The countryside, especially the poorer places, is very dark. Soldiers aren't allowed to smoke at night in places like these since the light from their cigarettes could be clearly seen even from afar, giving away their position. It was that dark here. I was hesitant since I'm not exactly a soldier. But he brushed it off, saying it would be a good chance for me to become a soldier for at least one night. 1LT, Ramirez, I can say, is a battle-hardened junior officer. He's been to a number of dangerous situations before fighting in many encounters both high-profile and low-key. He's the type to jump in quickly then ask questions later. That's how he has been ever since we've been kids, a very cocky individual, but not entirely without cause. He did receive a medal recently after all, although I wasn't sure for what action. Either way, we're going in. It's part of the job, he casually said. Now, you have to understand. The Philippine Army usually does the police work in the areas where communists, Muslim insurgents, or bandits are active. And when you send in the scouts, the best the military has to offer, you can get an idea of the kind of situation a place is in. Even other countries recognize the abilities of the Philippine Scout Rangers. All the more so in this case since these scouts came from the 1st Regiment. They're the best the scouts have to offer, from what I was made to understand. We got to the place a little over 5 minutes after, with me still having second thoughts. Dude, make up your mind. Either you shadow me, or I leave you in the truck. If you stay here, you're free dinner for them commies though. Can't spare you a babysitter for this one, he said. So, he made the choice easier for me. I don't have plans to be abducted. I was pissing myself already. Not cut out for this stuff. I just wanted to repair the cell site and go home. I planned to get his wife to kick his ass once he goes on vacation for this. Here, he said, handing me a loaded 9mm pistol and 2 clips. I know you're used to this one. Safety's on. I sat there thinking I wasn't getting paid enough for this job. And I recalled my company insurance policy doesn't even cover sports-related injuries, let alone firearms-related ones. I didn't have time to dilly-dally, so I stuck with my friend instead of waiting for someone to drag me into the woods and getting held for ransom which nobody's going to pay for. The plan was for 6 of his men to break off into 3 pairs to surround the house in question. Me, 1LT, Ramirez and his sniper PFC Santiago were to go up to this water tower about 50 to 60 meters out. I guess he planned to snipe the guy and have his men stand by on the ground in case the sniper missed. As we trekked to the water tower, he told me, "You're too stiff. You're wearing dark clothes, no one will see you. We'll be in and out in 10. You're a VIP, that's why I came and had my sergeant stay with the platoon at the cell site." I didn't know VIPs had to join in responding to calls. But the scouts were undermanned as they already were, that's why my friend needed to multitask at the moment. When we got up to the water tower, PFC Santiago immediately positioned himself and 1LT, Ramirez sat beside him while I positioned myself behind them. I was thinking yes, this wasn't so bad. I'm far from the area and safe as far as I can tell. Until PFC Santiago said, "Sir, you need to see this." 1LT, Ramirez brought out some type of binoculars, I guess they call it NV scope. I couldn't see his reaction because it was dark, but he was silent as he put down the binoculars. "The F***CK, was all 1LT, Ramirez said. He then turned to me and asked me to look at the direction he pointed and to tell him what I'll see. I was initially concerned that there were more NPAs and that we were outnumbered. A reaction like this from a seasoned scout didn't exactly paint a nice picture in my mind. But what I saw was definitely something that will probably haunt me for the rest of my life. I wish I hadn't taken those binoculars at all. I even wish I had seen more communists instead of what I did see. The image was green. I saw someone on the roof of a house. It was a man, he didn't have any shirt on, nor did he have any sort of firearm or weapon on him. He had very short hair and a shaved head. He was barefoot. He had jeans on, but the lower part was ripped. From what I could tell, he had dark skin. He seemed normal at first glance. But then I noticed his arms. His arms were very long. His hands were almost to pass down his knees. His fingers were also very long and pointed. The fingers were also longer than normal and had tips which looked like long nails or even claws. The first thing on my mind was, this thing isn't human. "Sir, it's moving," I heard PFC Santiago say. I didn't expect what happened next. This thing, whatever it was, looked at me through the lens. It King looked at me. It was unmistakable. He, or it, had its head turned to my direction. It had white eyes, like the eye shine in a cat's eyes. I almost dropped the binoculars. Had it not been strapped to my wrist it may have fallen straight through the grated flooring of the water tower. 1LT, Ramirez looked to me as if asking what I saw. All I could say was, ITF King looked at me, man. It knows we're here. Almost at the same time PFC Santiago said, "Sir, orders." My friend gave the order to put 2 in its head. I think the first shot hit the mark, because a scream echoed through the valley. It sounded like a mix of a high-pitched male shout and a cornered or dying animal's cry. I'm not sure how to describe it, but it was the first time I heard such a sound. I'm sure all of us heard it because of how loud the sound was. PFC Santiago never let out a second shot. I don't know if he did so on purpose or if he was caught off guard. We then heard automatic rifle shots in the distance. 1LT, Ramirez immediately told us to go. PFC Santiago went down the ladder first, then me, then 1LT, Ramirez. We ran towards the house. These guys run fast, and 1LT, Ramirez had to drag me along the way so I couldn't be left behind. Honestly, I was reluctant to run where we were headed. I wasn't as hardcore as these scouts. I could barely even keep myself from peeing all over the place. There were still someone shooting in a direction towards the tree line when we got to the house. Near the front area was one of the soldiers sitting against the wall. His friend seemed to be applying for first aid. His left forearm had a long bloody gash which bled freely into the soil. He reported to 1LT, Ramirez, that something jumped from the roof and landed right on top of him after PFC Santiago's shot. While he didn't get a good look at his attacker due to the darkness, he specifically refused to call the thing human. Even his friend didn't think it was human at all. The other 4 soldiers got back to us, saying the attacker got away. My friend decided to get to know the people in the house. We found out that a young couple lived in this house, and that the woman was 7 months pregnant. They had texted their local village official, who in turn requested the military to check since he suspected it was an NPA. The 3 of us, me, 1LT, Ramirez and PFC Santiago, never told anyone, even the couple, what we saw that night. We simply stated it was a machete-swinging communist trying to rob the couple. NPAs were known to resort to banditry. We made our way to the cell site, where I immediately began to do the necessary repairs. 1LT, Ramirez and PFC Santiago stuck to their story when asked by the rest of their platoon regarding the recent encounter. They never mentioned anything about the man's description nor the strange animal sound. After working an all-nighter and making sure the cell site operation was stable, 1LT, Ramirez and his men minus the injured one took me back to the town where I had parked my car as soon as daybreak came. As his men loaded the damaged equipment I replaced into my car, 1LT, Ramirez talked to me. At first, he joked around saying I could probably enlist in the regular army now that I had first-hand experience of what it was like for them. I went along with this, hoping to forget about the strange incident. However, before I was able to drive away, 1LT, Ramirez said, "Dude. Santiago, me, we saw the same thing you did. You know what it was, don't you?" I never responded, but inside I knew what he was talking about. The aswang, a creature from Filipino folklore, the stuff of a Filipino child's nightmares. The description, the sound, it was the only thing that made sense, explaining what the thing was. During the Spanish era, 1500s, 1890, these creatures were said to be once human who were blessed by the moon priestesses of old called prevailing, so these people could have power to fight the Spanish colonizers who had done them wrong. The Spaniards decided to persecute these priestesses for witchcraft, then spread tales that aswangs attacked locals and foreigners alike. The aswang is a creature said to be able to shape-shift into either a human or an animal but is never able to correctly imitate one or the other. As a human, it has leathery black skin and disproportioned limbs. As an animal, like a dog or cat, for example, it is always black and 3 times the normal size. It can neither speak nor make animal calls, it can only growl, shout, or scream. They usually eat the flesh of recently deceased humans and animals but also have a preference of targeting very ill people or pregnant women. Pregnant women like the one in the village. They can never become human again. And being an aswang is hereditary, no one will turn if attacked by one, although the wounds they inflict can be fatal. This is all true if the folklore is to be believed. I've never been back to that general area after, while 1LT, Ramirez and his whole team had been dispatched to the south recently to deal with the ISIS terrorists there. Before I posted this, I asked him about that night. It's hard to imagine a soldier of his caliber believing in those tales. I find it even harder, as I write this, to believe what I saw was real. But no matter how hard I try to come up with an explanation, I couldn't come up with anything else other than the legend passed down to us by our ancestors. I told you before. You and I both know what that thing was, one Lieutenant Ramirez said to me the last time we spoke at his house about a week ago. I go with what I see, and oftentimes I don't have the luxury of time to doubt whatever is in front of me. I don't know if I'll ever know the truth. I don't even know if I want to.
Thanks for watching. Please comment, like, share and subscribe. The Internet Surfer on YouTube for more horror and scary stories.